because he is, of course, a former Ravens assistant and now, I believe, the longest tenured coach in all of college football. He is Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch back up with you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
My pleasure, Glenn. Good to talk to you.
I imagine it's got to be a very exciting time for your program, coming off a great season as well. Take me back. What was the first memory that you have of learning about Tyler Linderbaum or getting to know him? What was your first interaction with him like?
Well, he's a local guy. He grew up, probably about 15 miles from here, 18 miles from here. So we knew an awful lot about him. He was a multi-sport athlete in high school. And the one thing that really stood out, whatever he did really well, just in quality fashion. His dad's an educator and coach. Mom's a great person. And I actually knew his granddad back in the 80s when I was here as an assistant. I got to know him a little bit. So, it was one of those guys we knew a lot about, playing high school athletics. And, probably as noteworthy as anything is, he's really accomplished. Obviously, the wrestling, they showed some of the wrestling last night.
Yep.
Pretty impressive, to go up against a guy like Tristan Wirfs, and unbelievable that, the two of those guys in such close proximity. So that was impressive. And he also is a really good baseball player. And you don't find a lot of guys that do that anymore in our state. They play that in the summertime. So you think about a guy like Josie Jewell, who's with the Denver Broncos, really good baseball player. And Micah Hyde was an outstanding baseball player as well. So it's kind of unusual, but a real, unique skill set that way. And probably the most impressive thing about Tyler is just the kind of young guy he is. He's a really tremendous person, extremely competitive in a very quiet way, but extremely competitive and extremely tough-minded.
Coach, I'm sure you've gotten a billion questions about Tyler's size, right? And we're just not used to seeing offensive linemen whose first number in their weight is a 2 and not a 3. Why has it not mattered? What makes him so special that he can play at such a high level at his size?
Yeah, I got to share this with you. So, it was 100 years ago when I went to the NFL. It was 1993. And my first call of duty was going to the combine. And, one of the first things they do, the first thing they did, at least that I went to, is when they walk everybody in just in a pair of shorts. And I'd kind of gotten a message, or at least the theme was, if you're not 300, you're not anything.
Mm-hmm.
And all I remember is seeing a lot of really bad-looking bodies that day. And it really kind of like is burnt into my memory bank. And I still don't feel a lot different. I mean, there are a lot of guys that carry weight that doesn't look so good on them, or they don't carry it so well. I just talked about Tristan Wirfs. He would definitely be an exception to that definition there. But I think it's overrated, me personally. And the other thing I learned in the NFL, guys keep growing, they keep developing. So, but I told the folks coming through the past 2 years about Tyler, he's never going. If you need a guy that's going to be 6'4", 320, and some people have those specs, that's not him. You need a guy that's going to block people and just be an unbelievable team member, unbelievable guy in the locker room. Be good in everything that you're asking a guy to be good in. It's Tyler, and the latest discussion was about his arm length, and we've had apparently several guys with short arms coming out of here, but they've gone on and had really good careers, and I think it's because of their focus, their determination, the pride that they have, and the way they practice, prepare, and then the way they compete. And certainly, there's absolutely no reservations on Tyler. He's just a tremendous individual and a tremendous team member.
He is Kirk Ferentz, Iowa football coach. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Coach, the fit, you know what the Ravens are doing here. They're running the ball, and it's a Greg Roman offense, and that's what they want to do, and it's not going to change this year. The idea of Tyler and his personality, and the idea that he could be just the road grader type. What type of fit do you think uniquely he is in Baltimore, given what it is the Ravens want to do?
He certainly does not object to run blocking at all. He's really good at it. And his really unusual quickness. I know he tested well on his pro day, and that's coming off of a mid-foot injury from the bowl game. Tested very well, but the tests are important. I'm not minimizing those, but when you turn a film on like that, that's really where you see what a guy is or what a player is. And my sister could watch his film and tell you that he's got exceptional quickness and just not only can he get to a place where he needs to be, but he can get there with leverage and good pad level, and that makes him a little bit unique. And then when he engages with guys, he understands leverage totally and is really good at it, both pad under pad leverage, and then also getting in, keeping his hands, elbows inside where he can really work on his opponent. So he's a really proficient player that way. And the other part about it, simple as this sounds, but I think it's true on a great defensive player, a great offensive player. And for a lineman, it starts with wanting to block guys. And I know that sounds kind of stupid, but I really believe that some guys just want to do it more than others. And I think the same way on defense, some guys really want to tackle people and other guys are lukewarm on that. And that sounds pretty primitive and basic, but I think it's true. I mean, just, think about the great players that have played at Baltimore
100%
on either side of the ball. And I was there when Ray Lewis was a rookie.
Yep.
And believe me, he wanted to get to the ball and tackle that guy.
Right.
He was pretty prominent. They probably say the same about Ed Reed. So it's just, that's what it's all about. And Jonathan Ogden, that was my first year there was, the year we got Ray and Jonathan. And Jonathan was a freakish person athletically and mentally. But the thing I always tell people about him, I think that made him so exceptional, is he just had a tremendous level of pride, laid back and give you that laid back stuff, kind of looked like he was. But boy, when he was on the field, he did not want to make a mistake, and he did not want to get beat or lose his edge. And, that's really what drives great players, in my opinion. And, time will tell what kind of career Tyler has in the NFL, but I can tell you from our standpoint, he's had a great career here. And probably the first game that pops to mind this year for me was the Illinois game, where most normal people would have not played that day. He was really fighting the fever, had the flu.
Wow.
And then, it spread to our entire team the next week. It's another story, but he found a way to play and play well in that game. And those are the kinds of things that to me really tell you about a guy, the way he's wired and what he's willing to do for the benefit of the team.
I want to make a promise. We're not going to share that as Tyler Linderbaum gave the entire team the flu. I want to make that very clear. We're not going to
share.
I'm
not saying he gave it. But
we're not going to.
I don't know about COVID. I know one thing. The flu went through our place last November, and it was a little dicey there. So, we didn't have much COVID issue, but we sure had the flu.
Oof. All right. Coach, the guy that you described there reminds me an awful lot of Marshall Yanda, frankly. And we know that Tyler Linderbaum spent time with Marshall Yanda. Did you get a sense for what he took from that time, what it meant to him? And Eric DaCosta made that comparison at the Combine between the two of them. I know it's so lofty that we don't like making these types of comparisons because, my God, what a standard that is that we're talking about with Marshall Yanda. But do you see some similarities there?
Well, one is in the draft process and difference in obviously is Tyler went in the first round, but not Marshall didn't. But the thing I told people about Marshall back when he was playing for us, I told them they're going to experience the same thing we did. When he got to campus, we thought maybe we made a mistake watching him in the winter program because he wasn't the prettiest guy. Maybe doing some athletic stuff, just non-contact type drills. But the day we put pads on first week in spring practice, practice number 3, he went from being a guy I thought we might have to redshirt to this might be our best lineman. After one practice, he might be the best lineman on our team, and it turned out he was. But my point there is that he had warts, quote unquote warts, but when it came time to play football, nobody did it better. And so Marshall was like clockwork. If his old blue pickup truck wasn't out there in the off season, that meant he was ice fishing or doing whatever else he did. He liked to ice fish and snowmobiles, things like that.
Right.
But
right.
So he's been around this building an awful lot when he was playing. I mean, routinely, and just trained at a really high level. And so any of our guys that were paying attention, and certainly Tyler Linderbaum was, just having a guy like Marshall in the building that's so valuable to us. And I think if you ask Tower, he learned just from watching. You just watch how Marshall does things, the way he operated, and I know a lot of our guys watched him in the NFL. Yeah, it's a great learning opportunity, and like Tower, I mean, Marshall's just a first-class person. Great human being, great guy to have on the team, and I think there's a lot of value in that at any level, college football, professional football, certainly high school football. When you got to have good players, but when you have guys that really are wired a little different, that really helps.
You say wired a little bit different. Marshall was wired I mean, this is the man that would,
Mm-hmm.
be willing to get tased for money, or would be willing, like when on the coldest day of the year would go put water in his beard so it would freeze and nobody could grab it and it would slide off. I mean, he was a psychopath, Marshall Yonda. Is any of that rubbing off on Tyler Linderbaum? Like, will we see
Well,
him in short sleeves in January in Baltimore?
yeah, it might be a little sneaky, but I think anybody that's really good at what they do, they tend to be a little bit off center. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure Tyler's he's got a few quirks too, or a few things that might be interesting, but yeah, he won't draw a lot of attention to himself. That's just not his way, but he will through production and the way he plays and his effort, and that's what you're looking for.
How about this pipeline that's been existed for the last couple of years? Geno's still here. Christian Welch is still here. That's been a pretty good little Iowa to Baltimore thing the last couple of years for you.
I'm thrilled to death, and it's so neat to see what's going on in Baltimore again. I was in on the front end when we moved into the old police barracks out there, and had shag carpet in there, all that stuff. So it was kind of, what a change, and just the way things have developed. And I think another cool thing about it, you think about Ozzie was not formally the GM, but he was the GM when we came in '96. And I've told so many people, I know Ozzie was a Hall of Fame player, great football player. It's not even debatable. I don't know if it's possible, but in my mind, he should be an NFL Hall of Fame general manager also. I don't know if he can get reelected. Going two levels,
Yeah.
but he just had such a good way about him, such a good feel for things and feel for people, and works so well with people. So, but you think about that, and Eric was just a really young guy back in 1996 who was just kind of like, getting some traction and, learning the game and learning the business and all that. And just to see how all that's developed. And you got a lot of people in the building who were there 25 years ago. So just the growth, the development, it's so easy to cheer for him, and, first class ownership. So, and I always tell guys in recruiting, in recruiting, you get to choose where you're going. If you're lucky enough to play in the NFL, at least for the first 4 or 5 years, you don't get that option. And for Tower to end up in a great organization like he has, with a team that's got such proud tradition and is sitting right there in great position to be in the thick of things next year, he's really fortunate in that regard. I think it's a win-win situation for everybody.
It's very cool. Coach Kirk Ferentz, I know it's a busy time for you. Greatly appreciate taking a couple of minutes for us. May we be doing this every year, because you continue to send us a pipeline of great football players. All right? Thank you for checking in.
I hope we have somebody every year. That'd be great.
Appreciate you, Coach.